In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Marianne's guests are leaders in their field, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in their own work. They teach others to develop, refocus, and grow. Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. And remember, make every moment count.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so excited we're spending this time here today. We have quite a show lined up. Our first guest is none other than Don Miguel Ruiz, and he's here today to talk to us about ancient Toltec wisdom of the Four Agreements. Now, many of you know Don Miguel. He's the international best-selling author of a series of books, including The Four Agreements, which was on the New York Times bestseller list for over 7 years, and is the 36th best-selling book of the decade. So join me in welcoming Don Miguel.
Marianne, it's a great pleasure to be in your show. Thank you for this invitation.
Oh, thank you so much for honoring us with your time. I know you're really busy. You're kind of on a tour right now, and you've got this great event coming up in Colorado in just a week or so.
It will be great to be there and to share my love with everybody who's there.
For those of you who do not know, so Don Miguel Ruiz and Sons are going to be at Mile High Church. That'll be on March 18th from 9 a.m. to noon. You can go ahead and purchase your tickets at milehighchurch.org. And so I know you're going to be talking about experience living the Four Agreements. What does that mean to us?
Well, it's to share all the different tools that we have in order to improve the way we live our life, because we need to understand that our life is really a story that we create, and we live in that story. It's our own creation. And in that story, obviously, we are the center of that story. It's everything about me, whoever we are. Then, yes.
Yeah, and so a lot of times I think people have a hard time separating me from the story that's been so ingrained.
Well, with this, with all these tools, we can see how we can improve the art that we create, because we all are artists, and the masterpiece of art that we create is the story of our life, the one we live. Then, with these tools, we really can direct and make better the world that we create, because we create our own world, and we are completely responsible for the world that we create. We may not like the way we live our life, but if we have the awareness and see that we are the ones who created, we can change it. And this is the most important part, because we are the artists, it's our art, we can make it much better. By the way, the word Toltec means artist. And in my point of view, every single human is an artist. And with these four agreements, it's the easy way for us to create the most wonderful piece of art, our own creation. We use the word in order to create that art. We use the word in order to create all the secondary characters who live in our story. And we use the word in order to create the main character, which is what we believe we are. And we do that without even know that we are the creators. When we have that awareness, and we can see that, yes, we can change the story of our life, it becomes a wonderful and beautiful challenge, because we can create our personal paradise, or we can keep creating all the nightmares that we create, or personal hell. That is up to us to create or to change what we already create and make it better and better and better.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you 100%. I love hearing your teachings. I don't think you know this, but when I first started off in my journey as an entrepreneur many, many years ago, it was actually your book, The Four Agreements, that helped me determine what kind of entrepreneur and what kind of person I would show up in the world as. So I just want to thank you so much for being such a great inspiration in my life. And your sons also are just absolutely fabulous. So kudos to all of you, and thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's always my pleasure to share whatever I know with whoever is around me. And this, these four agreements are the best tools that we can create. And of course, these four agreements is just the initiation of that way of life, the way of life of the artist. Because when we have the eye of the artist, we are always searching for beauty, and we enjoy the beauty. But only if we are beautiful inside, we really can enjoy the beautiful that exists outside of us. There is a wonderful connection between the beauty of inside with the beauty of the outside, that we really can change the way we perceive everything around us. And this is so wonderful. Four simple agreements is just introduction of this way of life. And of course, the most important is to be impeccable with the word, because it's the word that we use in order to create the story. And if we are impeccable with the word, we create the most beautiful story. If we misuse the word, we create all those different problems in our life. And we can create all those difficulties, all those challenges. And obviously, we are responsible because we created. Then that's why it's so important to be always impeccable with the word.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know that in the second agreement, you talk about don't take anything personally. And for me, that was a big one, especially when you first got into business. I picked up your book. I'm like, wait a minute, don't take anything personally. It's all about me. What do you mean? Yeah.
Well, of course, it's all about you. It is your story, you created, but just the same way that you create your own story, everybody around you also create their own story, and they live in their story. And in their story, you're only a secondary character. As in your story, everybody else is just a secondary character. Then being a secondary character in anybody else's story, it means that the one who lives in their story is not really you. It's what they believe about you. And they will, we can say, judge, blame, or whatever to that secondary character in their story. But it doesn't mean that it's you. The same way that you can judge everybody in every secondary character in your story, and it doesn't mean that you know them, because you really don't know anybody. You only know what you believe about them, the images that you create about everybody around you who live in your story, which is not the truth. Then when we have that awareness, that gives us immunity in the interaction that we have with anybody else. Because whatever they say, whatever they judge, is just a secondary character in their story. It's not really you. The thing is that they don't know that. But if you know it, that gives you a big advantage, because you can listen whatever they say, you can agree or disagree for whatever they say, and in that way you take advantage to every single interaction that you have with everybody around you. That's why not to take anything personally really will help you to make your story better.
I know that your teachings really impacted me greatly, and I was very grateful for all of that. So, I have to ask before we get to the third agreement here, which is a really good one as well. When you started off with the four agreements, is this something that you learned as a child? Were you just born this way with this great knowledge? How how did it get to the point where you had developed this? Because it's such a impactful it's such impactful wisdom for people.
Well, I can say that everybody have the same thing. Every single human is always there for everyone. They just didn't know. I grew up with this kind of knowledge. I remember my father always tell me, Miguel, you can make your dreams come true. The only thing that you need is strong will and discipline, and whatever you believe, it will be truth for you. You know, I grew up in this way, but not only me, everybody else did the same thing. You know, it doesn't matter wherever they was born, doesn't matter whatever language they speak, doesn't matter whatever religion they follow, they have that knowledge already. But what we learn really push this knowledge aside, but it's always there. And, you know, this world agreements is really talking from the integrity to everybody else's integrity. That's why it's that important, whatever, if they went to school or not to school, if they know a lot or not, it doesn't matter. You speak to every single one.
That's so important because it really does apply to everybody, no matter where you are in life, and something that's so easy that you can use in personal relationships and work and just your own personal, your personal journey. So I highly suggest people. I mean, I've already got my ticket to go and hear you all speak at Mile High Church on the 18th, and so I would highly advise everyone else to go and get their tickets as well, because I know that those are selling out pretty quickly. So we have a little bit more time. So I know that the third agreement is, don't make any assumptions. So how does that help us in our everyday life?
Well, it's extremely important because this is the dialogue that you have with yourself. You're the one who is speaking in your head, and you're the one who is listening in your head. It's all your thoughts that you have, all those beliefs. And it's just the interaction that you have with yourself. And we make assumptions about everything that we don't know, which means almost about everything. Whatever information is not complete, we make the assumption and complete information. Then when we have this awareness, then we will try to avoid not to make all those assumptions and really speak and ask for the truth. For whatever truth it will come, and we will use it in the best way. Then not to make assumptions that give you immunity in the interaction that you have with yourself. And this is extremely important because we believe that everybody will judge us the same way that we judge ourselves. And as a judge, we are very severe with ourselves. We know exactly what we feel, what we believe, etc. And we know exactly our mistakes, and we really try to enforce the beliefs in ourselves. And that's why we have a lot of guilt and blame, etc., etc. And that really makes us suffer a lot. And the same way we blame everybody around, even if we don't say it. We make assumptions for whatever they do, they say, etc., etc. Then if we try to avoid not to make assumptions, that will really improve the way we live our life.
Well, and it's so, I agree with you 100%. And it's made a huge impact on my life when we just don't say, well, I think that this is happening. And it's actually, I think you would enjoy this. So when I used to have sales agents, I was a top insurance manager for many years. And when I had sales agents I was training, they would come and say, well, it's lunchtime. It's not a good time to call. They're probably having lunch. And they would do all this. And I highly suggest this for any manager. I had your book and I was giving it away to every new person that came on board saying, you need to read this because that's just the story in your head. That's not, we don't know. We're just making assumptions.
Exactly.
So from a business standpoint, and it's very interesting. I've worked with many people, Fortune 500 companies that really follow your principles. So it's, it carries over so many different aspects in life. Now, I know we get to the fourth agreement, which is always do your best. So how does that relate with the other three agreements that we have?
Well, the first agreement is really the level of the mind. It's all what we believe, what we feel, etc., etc. We can have millions of ideas in our mind. But as soon as we take action, we can manifest all those ideas. Then the fourth agreement is to take action in whatever we have in our mind. By taking this action, by doing our best, we create all the great civilizations that exist in the planet Earth for millennia. Since the Greeks, the Egyptians, etc., etc. First, we have the ideas in our head, we take the action, and we manifest it. We make it real. If you look around you, you can see all the technology that we have. Well, everything first was in their mind. Whoever created, they take the action and they manifest it. Now we have computers, we have planes, we have cars, we have freeways, we have the most incredible comfort. It's great what we do when we take the action, when we do our best. And by doing our best, we change the story of our life. We make our life easier and wonderful.
And then that really, kind of just ties everything together, and how to live life where we're really in charge more of how you're saying we're the artists. We're more in charge of how our painting's going to look like. And we don't really have to get involved in other people's paintings, So,
Exactly. And that's very important what you just said.
well, I am so excited that we're going to be having this time with you guys at Mile High Church, especially with Don Miguel Jr. and Don Jose. So all three of you are going to be up on stage and sharing your wisdom. Is that?
Well, I think he's correct. I'm not exactly sure, but I think he's correct.
Oh, I hope so, because I know that each of you have a very unique perspective to share on this topic, and so I'm very excited to be attending that. And then I understand that you're going to be covering some of the underlying wisdom in the four agreements and how people can use that in their daily lives. And we don't want to give, obviously we want people to attend the event. Like I said, I've got my ticket. I'm going to be there. What are just some of the tips that our listeners can use that I think would kind of help them? And then, of course, they have to get their ticket and show up at the event.
Well, something that is important is to add the fifth agreement to these four agreements, which is the conclusion of the four agreements. The four agreements is the introduction. The fifth agreement is the conclusion. Is when you got in the level that you really change completely the story of your life. It's the end of the world that you create. It's the last time that you judge yourself. Then after that, you don't have the need to judge anybody anymore. And you do that by be skeptical and by learning to listen, which is what complete. After you do that, then you really become some master. And this is the goal for everybody to reach their own mastery, to be authentic, to be their own master, their own guru, and nobody else. To focus all the faith that they have in yourself, and nobody else is just you. You are the savior, you are the creator, and you are the one who will enjoy the result of all this work, because it's all about you.
I think that's important, because it often you'll see where people put so much faith in another person, or they'll put their faith outside themselves instead of really looking inward and having that faith within themselves, going, okay, I can do this, I got this,
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. And you have only certain years of life. Let's say that we're going to live 100 years. Mm-hmm. This is nothing. You compare that with eternity. 100 years goes very fast. Then what you're going to do with it by the time that you live in the physical body? The only thing is just to enjoy, to really enjoy everything around you, and not to waste your time to blaming and fighting and create all those dramas around you, We are here to enjoy life. Then let's enjoy life.
Well, I am so honored that you would take the time, Don Miguel, to spend with us today. I can't wait to. I've not met Don Jose. I've spoken with Don Ruiz Jr. We've had him on the show a couple times. He's absolutely amazing. But I'm so honored that you would take this time with us today. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome, and you will really enjoy Don Jose.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, you guys are just amazing and awesome. I mean, that's why I've got my ticket. I'm going. So, for our listeners that would like to connect with Don Miguel Ruiz, you can go to miguelruiz.com, connect with him there on his website. Of course, you want to attend the event at Mile High Church coming up March 18th. And you can visit again, milehighchurch.org. So, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You got all my love.
Thank you, Don Miguel. You have all of our love as well. And again, if you want to check out the different events in your area that Don Miguel will be at, go to miguelruiz.com, click on events. There's also an opportunity to sign up for a free ebook. You can see that on their banner, which is something I'm going to do right now. So it's the 4 Agreements for a Better Life. Take the online course. And then the Circle of Fire free ebook is available to you. We're going to pause here for a quick break. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne, and that was our special guest, Don Miguel Ruiz. We'll be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special, when you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
I know we are unlimited, not only because I healed myself with chronic disease in only 3 weeks, but because I know what has helped thousands of my clients transform their own lives. My book, A Short Path to Change, 30 Ways to Transform Your Life, offers 30 easy and quick tools you can use to help transform any aspect of your life. Visit and subscribe to my site, JennyMannion.com, JennyMannion.com, for free gifts, including a guided healing meditation and the first chapter of my book. I look forward to offering you easy ways to help you get clear for the new year.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 123 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com.
Ben Wexler is a gifted leadership development and strategy consultant for professionals who want to transform their organizations and careers. Through a uniquely personalized set of processes, participants discover their unique knowledge, how to leverage that knowledge and experience, and then put it all together with a global strategy. You're more valuable, your organization is more valuable, and the change is viral. Contact Ben at 630-881-1074. 630-881-1074.
Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. Our next guest, and today is just a day of powerhouses. Our next guest is Dr. Romie Mushtaq, and she is here today to talk to us about medicine meets mindfulness. Now, Dr. Romie is a traditionally trained neurologist with additional board certification in integrative medicine. After undergoing a life-saving surgery herself, she traveled around the world, learned mindfulness techniques, and now helps individuals achieve brain and mental health holistically at the Center for Natural and Integrative Medicine in Orlando, Florida. So Dr. Romie's experience has been featured on TED Talks, Fox News, NBC, NPR, Huffington Post, you name it, dozens and dozens of national media outlets. So I'm so excited that we have her here today to talk to us about this topic, since Dr. Romie's unique experience combines neuroscience and mindfulness to a degree I don't think most of us have ever seen before. So let's welcome to the show Dr. Romie.
Oh, Marianne, thank you so much for having me. A pleasure to meet you and say hello to all of your listeners.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, my gosh, we've been following each other on social media, and I just love what you've been posting. I mean, it's kind of singing to the choir. So every time I wake up and I'm looking at Twitter, I'm like, wow, look at this. And it's just so much fun stuff to share. You've got such great information. And then to kind of find out about the science part of it all, it's very exciting.
Oh, well, thank you, Marianne. I'm so glad. Isn't Twitter such a beautiful example of how powerful our consciousness is? I always say that our social media and Twitter, because it's so fast-moving, it's such an extension of what we're thinking and how we feel. And I'm always amazed by the like-minded individuals like yourself that I get connected to through Twitter. It's beautiful.
Well, and it's funny how people just end up connecting. You get like minds. Mm-hmm. And I know that you're here today to share some great wisdom with us in regards to mindfulness and busy brain. And what does that even mean? What does it mean when you have a busy brain?
Marianne, thank you for asking that question. I used to have this journey myself. My background, for your listeners, as they've heard, is neurology, and I've transitioned into how do I bring the Eastern and Western medicine together. And what I find with so many of my professional clients, whether they're the ones I work with one-on-one or a lot of the executives I'm meeting on my speaking engagements, is they have this kind of trifecta of symptoms that I've affectionately called the busy brain. Feeling a little anxious, difficulty focusing at work all the way to frank ADHD, and then you can't shut off your thoughts at night and you lose sleep. So it's this combination of anxiety and difficulty focusing and an inability to sleep. And the whole theory in integrative medicine is how do we get to the root cause of the illness? And in my mind, the busy brain happens because here in the West, in America, our society in particular, so many of us are, overstressed, over-medicated, whether it's, prescription drugs or food or alcohol, and we're sleep deprived. And it leads to a malfunctioning brain of what I call the busy brain.
So let's say, someone's got, because I know you also talk about how this can lead to like dependence on caffeine and alcohol and the prescription medications. So what if someone has that happening and with the lack of sleep? What can they do to kind of start turning things around?
Well, Marianne, it's a great question. And I think the first thing is to recognize that it's going on. And I call it the busy brain because you wake up feeling a little fatigued or tired. So you take an excessive amount of caffeine. 1 cup is okay, but these, fancy coffee drinks with 2 or 3 shots of espresso or the energy drinks. And then you're wired for a little bit, or you may be energized, and the focus is there just for a little bit, and then you lose the focus and edge. But what happens is the effects of the caffeine stay around and can make you anxious, and that feeds into this difficulty focusing. Not only that, but, the caffeine stays in our system and disrupts our sleep-wake cycle for up to 14 hours. So when people are telling me I have difficulty, winding down at the end of the day, taking the edge off from the stress from work, or difficulty falling asleep, what happens? I'm going to have a beer, have a sleeping pill, take a Benadryl, wine, and we end up in this vicious cycle. So the first step is to understand, am I in a chemical cycle? Whether it's, caffeine and alcohol or actual prescription drugs, people taking things like Ritalin, and they may not have ADHD. They're just having difficulty focusing and things to calm down from anxiety, and then at night taking a sleeping pill. So it's like an upper and a downer. And that's the first step is, am I in a chemical cycle? Number one. Then number two, if we're there, it's saying, okay, I need to do something to change, and understanding why is it that I want to change. I don't want you to feel like it's a punishment. My clients who come to me because they're feeling shamed that they've been on prescription medicines for so long, or their spouse is commenting about their alcohol consumption, when you start a treatment based in guilt or shame, you're only going to get more guilt and shame. So I really want people to think, why is it that I want to change the state of my brain and the state of my life? And I'll tell you, the most successful clients I have is because they know I want to live a life that is one of being calm and feeling in control. And when you have something positive like that to look for, then we start the treatment modalities.
Okay. And then, so let's say you're working with somebody and you're getting to that process. How does the mindfulness piece start to kind of integrate with all of this?
You know, the busy brain is often a multitasking brain. And so if we think falsely that I am good at multitasking, I don't know about if you hear this from a lot of your female clients, Marianne, I do. Oh, I'm a woman. I know how to multitask. I'm a mom. I have a lot of small children. I know how to multitask, right? Mm-hmm. That's feeding into the busy brain. And so the mindfulness, you know, the concept is I am present. And everybody feels that and loves it if they're sitting in yoga class or have gotten done with group meditation. The key is taking that present, centered awareness into our day-to-day lives and saying, I'm going to focus on one thing at a time and, you know, try that. And so that's one key. But the other piece is taking mindfulness-based techniques such as meditation. And I teach meditation to clients, individualizing meditation programs for people depending on, you know, what their symptoms are and what they're going. And ideally is implementing a meditation system in that's rewiring your brain over 4 to 6 weeks. So while we are introducing a mindfulness-based stress reduction technique, a meditation, you know, looking for hormone imbalances or nutritional deficiencies that are also feeding into the busy brain problem, we're then slowly weaning off of alcohol or prescription medications. And that's the way the mindfulness plays a critical role, because meditation actually is medicine for the mind. It rewires the brain to be a calm and in control brain as opposed to a busy and frazzled brain.
Well, and isn't that the place we all kind of want to get to when we're having that, you know, sense of peace and inner calm and being able to go throughout our day without having these, you know, really steep peaks and valleys, you know?
You know, it's an ideal state for a lot of us, and it was something that I thought about a lot early in my neurology career before I got burnt out and very sick was, why was it that on certain days I was functioning at my peak performance and felt like a rock star in my mind, and other days I was having a hard time getting out of bed or so exhausted and anxious at work. And I couldn't understand until I found the path of integrative medicine and mindfulness and realized, and I will tell you, and you know, I share this with people who follow me on my website, I am 42 right now. My brain and energy levels are functioning better than when I was 22 and in medical school.
Oh my God, we need more doctors like you.
There's a growing community, Marianne, of people, doctors studying integrative medicine, functional medicine, and understanding that. I think where I add a unique twist is having gone on my own healing journey around the world and learning various yoga, meditation, breathing techniques, and integrating that into now brain and mental health.
Well, and I want to kind of bridge over to, I know another topic that you talk about and you touched on briefly is the multitasking, because I have seen your TV interviews you've done on this and talks about it, and it still floors me. And I think it just, you know, we just have to keep talking about it. Because
we
I think
have to keep talking about it until, right, we decide to do something about it. Isn't that true?
Well, and just also for more people to have that awareness, because I think a lot of people think, you know, I'm really good at multitasking, and you know, their desk looks like a train wreck, you know, and you know, their life is kind of like a yard sale, you know.
I love it. Life is like a yard sale. Absolutely. You know, when we look at someone's desk or your closet, a cluttered home, a cluttered desk, wherever there's clutter in your home or in your office, that's likely the area you're feeling cluttered in your life. And think of that as the busy brain and the cluttered, house and this. And why multitasking doesn't work. And I feel bad that somehow in the business world, multitasking was perpetuated in the 1990s, and people who were hiring, it was a skill set that you looked for. And then this whole notion of I have to be a super mom and manage my home and raising children and a job. Okay, I have to become a masterful multitasker. But what brain research has been showing now really for the last 10 years, but really coming to the forefront now is several things happen to us when we attempt to multitask. Number one, whatever task is at hand, it's going to take us 2 to 3 times longer to finish it. Sending that email, finishing washing the dishes. Number two, when we do that task and we're multitasking, it's as if you stripped your IQ about 15 points. And I don't know about you, Marianne, but I have my IQ at maximum capacity every day. How about you?
I need all those little brain cells firing.
Right. And in one direction, absolutely. And then the multitasking is what's feeding this digital ADHD. When on our computers, we have multiple browser windows open, or we're watching TV and tweeting and texting at the same time. That's feeding our brain to be, again, a busy brain and feel like you have ADHD, but this isn't true clinical attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which requires medicines. This is something you have trained your brain to malfunction because you're on too many digital devices all at once. So it feeds into the busy brain going to work and actually reducing productivity. And so if you're sitting here listening to this interview going, oh, that's really cool, Dr. Romie, but you don't know my workplace. So let me tell you, my speaking engagement clients are executive leadership teams of Fortune 500 companies, major universities. They are paying attention. They really are understanding that they need their employees to have emotional and mental well-being to succeed. And they really understand that we need to move from multitasking to mindful tasking.
Ooh, and that makes such a huge difference because you want someone that can actually, be very present in a task and be able to take it from beginning to end and complete it and have it, perfection's not something we really go for, but have it so that it is, as close to that when you're finished. And, I think with multitasking, from what I've heard from your interviews, people, it ends up taking them twice as long sometimes or longer to complete
twice as long and raising the stress hormone levels in the brain. So what may have been an ordinary task at work, like, answering 10, 15 emails in one sitting, now feels more emotionally draining. And this is a factor that is leaving people feeling like they're in a soul-sucking job rather than a job where they feel fulfilled, because you're multitasking, the stress hormone levels are going up, you're not as productive, you constantly feel behind, and you feel like your to-do list is never tackled.
And then you're also damaging your brain on top of all that.
It is. Yeah. And you and I share a similar path, and I'll tell you the secret was, when I started on this entrepreneurial path, there's that, like you and I were talking, before the interview started, we can easily both work until 2 a.m. because we love what we're doing. When I instigated the, mindful tasking rules, I get more done in one day and in 1 week than I used to in a month. And that's the secret when people are like, how do you manage seeing clients, coaching, speaking, traveling, the media, writing? Because I'm very mindful about my tasking. My days are structured like that, and my staff knows to do that. And not to mention that I have my, prayer and meditation time built in every day.
And I know some listeners are going, and she prays and meditates too? How is this all possible?
Right? So here's the secret is that meditation for me is medicine for my mind. I know the benefits for me. My mindfulness practice has kept me healthy and has kept me alive and thriving. So that's my motivation. And I'm a woman on a mission to change the world, as you are. And so just like I wouldn't leave the house without brushing my teeth, meditation is a part of that.
It's something that you just have to get every day. I know a lot of people, when they start their meditative practice, they deal with that busy brain. And there could be a lot of judgment with that. What are some of the tips that you give in regards to being able to step into your mindfulness meditation practice and kind of eliminating that busy brain?
So that's a wonderful question, and I give a few different advices. Number one, know that meditation isn't about getting an A and having a perfect meditation practice and having judgment if it wasn't perfect. The act of meditating is what is important. There is no good or bad. Number two, you talk to the most seasoned folks who meditate. A lot of my meditation and mindfulness teachers from around the world, even myself, there are days where the busy brain is going, and that's the lesson, is not to judge and let it go without having attachment. And the more we meditate and the longer we sit, it starts to calm down. The problem is most people feel so frustrated sitting 1 to 2 minutes with thoughts just skewering their minds that they get up and think, I can't do this. So we give up too quickly, but that's a normal process. And the last thing I often say is, for my busy brain folks, these are the anxiety, I can't sleep, where a mantra-based meditation is very helpful. And the clinical neuroscience backs this up. That's repeating a word or a phrase over and over again, whether it's out loud or silently in your mind. And that's been proven to help take the shift and the focus off from the busy brain to that, present centered awareness and the breath. And those are the 3 keys I give. So number one, know that it's a normal phenomenon and not to get up, right away and to keep sitting and give it a try. And everybody runs into the busy brain while meditating. It's a part of our, human nature of the way we live in the world today. And the next thing is pick a phrase or a mantra that you recite over and over and over again.
Okay. So let's say, because I know when people are feeling anxious with work or things that have come up throughout their day, and a lot of it can also be, because maybe they're on too much caffeine or have too much sugar or alcohol or prescription medications going on. What are some of the tips that you would like to leave our listeners with that they can go ahead and implement to start dealing with anxiety in a healthy way?
The one thing is understand the difference of feeling anxious or having an anxiety disorder. Too many people are judging themselves thinking they have a mental health problem when, for instance, it's normal to feel anxious for most people if they have to stand up in front of a group of people and give a presentation or take a final exam in college. That is normal. It's when the feelings of anxiousness are limiting you from doing what you need to do, there's a problem, or if the feelings of anxiety are coming on for no reason at all. So number one, it's really important to understand the difference and talk to a mental health professional if you're not sure. The second thing I say is if it's situational, for instance, I'm on a writing deadline right now and have had a full day of meetings and feel behind. I know when I sit down to finish my article that's going to press, today for this magazine, and I'm feeling anxious, is to step away from the situation for 3 minutes. Because when we're anxious and then we're trying to do the task that's making us anxious, we're only feeding that stress response in the brain. And that brain loop is just going to be like stimulus, writing deadline, feeling anxious, and you can't focus. So literally get up away from your computer, get away from the meeting, walk away for 3 minutes, and change the scenery of your mind. So step away from the situation.
Then it's a good thing you're here with us, right?
Yes, absolutely. This is so relaxing talking to you and hearing your voice, Marianne, right? And the last thing I tell people is controlled breathing exercises. That 3 minutes, it's on average 3 minutes for the brain to switch out from the stress response to the relaxation response. When we look at the brain scan, so just deep controlled breathing. We can try it here with your listeners. Would you like to do that?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that because I want them to get a really good sense of, what that's like.
Okay, so take your right hand for people who are not driving and listening to you. So if you're listening to the recording, you can do this. Is take your right hand and put it on your navel. Yeah, pull over, and, take your right hand and put on your navel and take a nice deep inhale in through the nose. And as you do that, your belly button should be pushing out away from you. And inhale to the count of 3. Hold the breath, and now open the mouth and exhale out to the count of 4 while your belly collapses to your spine. That's nice, deep diaphragmatic breathing. You're just going to repeat this breathing for 3 minutes. Inhaling, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Hold the breath and exhale. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. Watch the timer on the phone or just walk away from the, stimuli that's making you anxious and do this for 3 minutes. And all of a sudden, you've connected to this place of calm consciousness. And the minute you're in that place of calm consciousness, you are now back in control to face what needs to be faced in your workday.
And what a great place to be in. You can kind of feel that calm kind of come over you when you're doing that breathing exercise.
Yes. And that's the key. And if you're sitting there going, breathing and kind of hyperventilating, going, I can't take deep breaths and I'm too anxious, it's okay. Just keep going. No judgment. Just continue the breathing. I have yet in clinic to have clients that are even in the frank middle of an anxiety attack not be able to, bring the feelings down a notch just by 3 minutes of breathing.
That is, what a perfect place to be in. I love that. I can already feel it like, just walking through that practice with you, I can feel it bring myself down a notch. And I'm thinking, I probably had too much coffee today. I think I need to kind of look at my coffee intake and start pulling that down too,
Well, I get that question often. Is coffee good for you or bad for you? And, I'm in the newsroom so often and this comes up, and the rule of thumb typically is, 1 to 2 8-ounce cup of coffee in the morning is just fine. And that's the key. It's in the morning. However, if you have anxiety, panic disorder, irregular heartbeat, then we need to watch the caffeine intake. So I'm not taking caffeine away because there are a lot of benefits to caffeine if it's used responsibly. Where I have a problem with the caffeine is when people are drinking the 20 ounces with, several shots of espresso. So you've now quadruple the recommended dose of caffeine daily, or the energy drinks, which combined with substantial amount of chemicals that are in those drinks can cause irregular heartbeats and is the number one cause of heart attacks for women ages 15 to 45.
That's good to know. I mean, and my coffee can't taste like coffee. So it's got to have like some kind of flavor or creamer in it. And I realize when I'm doing that, I'm getting the sugar crash. So I'm actually detoxing off of sugar. And it's interesting because that's it's quite a thing to do because I can feel it. I can totally feel be
and
more
that's the
clear
key.
mind.
When we put the sugar with the caffeine, we're likely to crash. And so that's when the variations of the Bulletproof Coffee really work. Have you ever tried that? You take the 2 spoons of grass-fed butter and 2 spoons of coconut oil and mix it in the coffee. And I may have just made all of your listeners gag, going, really? Butter and coconut oil? Yes. And you don't even need creamer, and the coconut oil is sweet enough. Otherwise, you can use stevia. Then I have sustained energy all day long, and the medium chain fatty acids from the coconut oil and the butter are actually, outstanding sources of nutrients for the brain. Now, this isn't mixing a fatty, sugary donut with it, so please don't do that,
No.
But just taking the butter and the coconut oil together, and that's the secret in 1 cup of coffee, and I feel the energy there all day long.
That's perfect because that's where I want to be. I like having a clear mind and being able to feel like I have energy, throughout the day. And there's differences when you make these kind of changes, That's pretty interesting.
And they take time. So if someone is like, I'm going to reduce coffee and I'm going to start meditating, and 4 days in they're going to hear this interview and you and I are going to get a tweet, it invariably happens. It's not working. Chances are to get into a place of busy brain, it didn't happen overnight. It took us months or even years to get here. So we have to have compassion with ourselves in the process and know, on average, if this busy brain is something that sounds like you, where you're kind of can't focus and feeling a little anxious to frank anxiety disorder and can't shut your mind off at night before you go to sleep, or you're waking up in the middle of the night, thoughts racing, give it about 4 to 6 weeks on a mindfulness-based practice to start seeing improvements.
Well, thank you. Dr. Romie, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here today. I mean, you are a fountain of information. I love how you're bringing together, mindfulness and medicine. I mean, I'm so glad that we're connected and that we have you here to bring this information to us because it's so important. I mean, it's making such a huge difference in so many people's lives.
You're welcome. I'm honored to do so. It's this fallacy that we think we lose brain power as we age, and I want people to know that it's their right to live in a calm consciousness and feel control of their life. And the first step is to acknowledge we have the busy brain and how we can cure it.
Yeah, and taking steps from there. Where can our listeners connect with you to, because I know you also, I'm sure you are, extremely busy doing coaching because you have some very high-level people that you're working with, and I know that you do some of that. You've got quite a bit of information that people can connect with you at. Where is the best place they can reach you?
Oh, thank you for offering. Yes, people have questions and want to work with us one-on-one or invite me in to speak at their companies. Go to my website, drromie.com. In addition, you're going to find free information on how to take the Busy Brain Cure test and download a lot of free information to get them started in the right steps of what we talked about today. And in the first 7 days, I have busy brain. Now what? And how do I start living a life that is calm and in control?
Oh, I'm going to go take that test right now. That sounds like way too much fun. I want to see where I'm at with that.
and tweet me, right, at Dr. Romie and let me know how you're doing and we'll connect. And there's one confession too. You don't have to give up all the creamers. The one reason I've given up creamers is, and here's a random quirky fact, I'm obsessed with pumpkin spice. And so pumpkin spice this season is officially over. And now I'm like, I have to give up the sugary creamers and go back to the, coconut oil and butter. So it's okay. We have compassion with ourselves and our habits. So for everybody listening out there, don't feel horrible because we're taking away your coffee and your creamers.
Oh, I like the pumpkin spice too, so I totally get it. Well, Dr. Romie, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here today. We so greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Romie. It's been such a joy to have you here with us today. For those of you who are interested in more on what Dr. Romie has to say, you can visit her website at drromie.com. That's ROMIE.com. On her website, you can do what I've done is sign up for her newsletter. It gives you free tools to boost your brain health naturally. And she also has a blog that has some great information as well as her featured TED Talks that you can go ahead and view and watch. So you've been listening to Moments with Marianne. I so appreciate you taking this hour to spend with us. We will be having such a show lined up for the rest of the month and into next month. We've got some amazing people that are going to be joining us. If you'd like to see the show schedule, you can visit momentswithmarianne.com. And you'll see all the wonderful guests that we have and some great discussion that's going to be going forward for the time to come. Also, a gentle reminder, if you want to see more about Don Miguel Ruiz and his events, I know that the Don Miguel family is, the Ruiz family is going across the country and doing different events. You can check out their website at miguelruiz.com on an event near you. I'd also like to thank everyone who's written in with a show suggestion. From that, we've booked some amazing guests on the show. Some just absolutely phenomenal people that each of them bring a certain wisdom that they have to share. And so thank you. If anyone else has a suggestion, please feel free to reach out to me at Marianne at mariannepastana.com. I love reading all of your emails and appreciate all of your feedback. So you can also connect with me on social media at Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Twitter. I'm pretty much on all of that. So, and again, I look forward to connecting with you. So you've been listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
Join us next time for Moments with Marianne, when host Marianne Pastana brings another inspirational gifted leader to help us grow. Tune in every second Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Moments with Marianne when the Dream Vision 7 radio network is at 1510 a.m. Boston. Or catch Moments with Marianne every Thursday and Friday at 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. Eastern Time by going to dreamvision7radio.com. To learn how Marianne started her business from the ground up, visit mariannepastana.com. Don't miss this. And remember, make every moment count.